Glad to have you in. Like I said, I appreciate you coming in and kind of getting to chat with somebody who's a little bit kind of on a different angle than recent guests, I would say, just from what you do and kind of your expertise. So it's kind of cool. I'm excited to learn a little bit about what you do, how you got into it, and all that kind of stuff. So I'll get into like one thing super hard and I'll go like crazy all out on that thing and I'll learn about it. I'll try to do it. It's just, that's my personality. And then I'll like jump into something else right after that.
Yeah, that's my ADHD. So yeah, I understand that completely. I'm Cheyenne Martis. I am the owner and currently sole massage therapist at Alchemy Massage Therapy. I have been lifting for 7 years. I've actually been out for about 6 months or so because I burnt myself out. So, but I have been 4 times nationally qualified, 3 times nationally competing StrongWoman. So I get it. I get pushing yourself to an extent. Yeah, that's been my life for 7 years, basically. So
was weightlifting or sports, like how did you actually, that's not the, I would say, standard.
Yeah, definitely. So I actually played rugby for about 2.5 years at UK, and it's like internationally, it is you practice on Tuesday and Thursday, and you play on Saturday. And working in retail, that just didn't work. So I was like, okay, well, I gotta go do something. So I always liked lifting. I was always stronger than my friends. And so I was like, I'll give that a try. And plus my dad said he didn't want me to do it. So that definitely pushed me towards that direction. So I then got a lifting coach, and I was like, I think I want to do powerlifting. And he's like, you could do strongman too. And I was like, I don't even know what that is, but let's sign up for it. Let's do it. So, and it was just literally 3 months into lifting, and I was like, yeah, that's what I'm going to compete in. So
what was it about it that attracted you to it? Wow. Like, was it just the willingness to try anything?
Yeah. I just like the idea of things constantly changing. Every single competition was different. Even if it's a deadlift, it's a deadlift from 13 inches, 15, 18. It's a AMRAP this time, while this time is a max deadlift. You get 3 attempts, And then I just found that I was a really good mover. So it was like I would do really well with yoke and stones and stuff like that. But then I was like, okay, well, I have to build my strength too, because deadlifting has been absolutely insane the past 5 years or so in strongman, just unreal numbers. So, I had been just trying to build that, and I like the functionality of it because it's like I will take all my groceries in one time. It will happen, and I've used it a lot, strangely, and I can't even think about it because it's happened so many times. I was like, oh yeah, strongman kind of prepared me for that. So it's a fun sport. It's niche and different. So.
Yeah, and I've talked to a few people who compete in the sport here on the podcast, and just kind of like all the different implements and like you said, kind of not knowing necessarily exactly how things are going to go. It's not like traditional sports where, okay, we know we're kind of going to be doing this thing for this amount of time or until this happens. It almost feels like what it feels like is like people who were like really strong got together one day where like one guy was like, okay, let's see if I can pick this up. And the other guy was like, all right, I'll challenge you. And then the other guy couldn't. So he was like, I have to figure out how I can kind of like beat this guy at something. So he like created another thing to be like, okay, I can carry this further than you. And then the other guy's like, okay, I can't do either of those, but I can like put this thing over this, this bar better than you guys. And so everybody just kind of did their best. And then everybody now is like, it's like a sport.
Yeah. I mean, basically if you look at the, like full Sturker or, any of those little documentaries they're coming out with now, it's kind of what it was. There's a bunch of men who are like, I'm better than you. I'm going to get stronger than you, and earning their serve and all that stuff. So yeah, that's basically it.
I think it's too, it's very, like with powerlifting, you can like really see the weights on the bar, and it's almost like, even if you don't get it, you can kind of get the visual representation of like, oh, that's a lot of weight. It's filling up the whole thing. But with strongman, it's a little different. It's kind of tricky because, you know, when I went to like the Olympia and then the Arnold, you would have those like strongman things people can do, and you would see people get in there and try to pick something up, and it's like, oh wow, that's way heavier than I thought it would be.
Even with the one that comes to mind specifically is the car deadlift. You don't know. You don't know, because it's like, well, this car weighs about this, but because of the leverage, you're not actually picking up the full thing. Plus, we're going to add 45s on it just to make your life harder. There's like certain implements you don't even know what they're weighing. So you just hope and pray that you can pick it up that day. So,
are you struggling with the common challenges of marketing and managing systems? Well, let me introduce you to our new sponsor, Big Play Digital Solutions. At Big Play Digital, they specialize in helping fitness professionals like yourself overcome these hurdles. Their mission is simple: to provide seamless support in digital marketing and system management so you can focus on what you do best, serving your clients. Now here's the reality. Many of us fitness professionals find ourselves spending more time on administrative tasks and marketing efforts than actually working with our clients. It's time to change that. Big Play Digital has the perfect solution. First, they create and execute effective digital marketing strategies tailored to your needs. From boosting your online visibility, attracting the right clients, and boosting retention, they've got your back. SEO, email marketing, social media marketing, content creation, they've got the expertise. But that's not all. They also offer comprehensive system management solutions. Their business management software, specifically designed for the fitness industry, streamlines processes, automates administrative tasks, and enhances client communications. More time, less hassle. The result, a more streamlined, efficient, and profitable fitness business that can compete effectively in today's digital landscape. Sounds like the solution you've been looking for, right? So if you're ready to take your fitness business to the next level, I encourage you to connect with Big Play Digital Solutions. They'll tailor their services to meet your specific needs and help you succeed. Don't miss out on this opportunity. Empower your fitness business with Big Play Digital Solutions. Connect with them today. How do you train for that? Like, how do you be like, okay, I don't necessarily know, so I'm just going to be ready for whatever?
Especially with the car deadlift there, you just take kegs and you keep adding until you're dead. That's basically what you get to, is you get to a certain point where it's like, okay, that's really heavy. That's really hard. I think I'm good now.
I was talking to a guy, and he was talking about the injuries that he sees during a competition. Do you have like a traumatic moment from seeing somebody's whatever rip, or their skin come off their hand, or, you know, a crack that shouldn't have happened?
Biceps are just, they're just like, they just pop all the time. I'm like almost immune to the idea of seeing like blood and stuff, because it happens so often. Like, some people will decide to do stones without sleeves, and it's like you just see it pooling up. Or of course deadlifts happen, or I popped my finger between two stones training one time, and so I was just like, oh no, running around EA, oh no. And then, but I didn't actually see it, but there's been a couple of them with stones specifically, because you gotta really get that triple extension in through the feet, the butt, and then the back to be able to put it up onto a higher platform. And I saw somebody's foot buckle underneath that, and the stone just like, I didn't know how that person lived, but that was one of them. And then they had a car yoke, so it was like a car on top of a yoke. And this girl, she barely, it was like 500 pounds too. She barely misstepped because she was flying and her tibia just went right underneath her. So yeah, that's the bad part is like when it happens, it's bad. It can be really bad.
Right.
So also a little bit of danger, you
yeah.
know?
Yeah. I mean, an added element, if that's, what you're into, is that like that thrill of competing,
dying.
but also the thrill, like of actually like real life situation is coming into play here. It's amazing. Like what the risk to reward ratio are in some things, but what people are willing to do for something that they're passionate about.
Yeah. It's like I felt like I almost met my demise on a Mauser block. Cause I stupidly put on wraps, which you're not supposed to, cause you're supposed to be able to feel your wrist and adjust when you have it up in the air. And it just immediately came back and like straight at my face, like, 50, 70 pounds, which is not, not a ton, but it's like, it's coming at your face. You're going to get really hurt if you didn't move out of the way. So yeah, a little bit of danger. I honestly feel like it hurts more to do that than me having dislocated my collarbone at nationals this past October. So it's like those itty bitty little pinches and stuff that just, oh God, those are, I'll just go home at that point. Like I'm done with my session. Like I'm good.
Cause then you're just mad. It's like, it's like, it shouldn't have done that. It hurts so bad, but it shouldn't hurt that bad. And then you're just like mad about why you did that.
It's like a paper cut, but it's like I'm good. I'm going to go home now. So, yeah.
So getting burnt out, for you, what caused that? Was it just kind of trying to do too much? Was it too hard? Was it specifically with Strongman, or was it a combination of things?
I think it was just everything at the time. I was working with Tyler Bedson. I had, within about a year, I was on just a continuous cut. And in that year, I had lost 40 pounds. And then I lost another 10 pounds in water weight just right before nationals there. And so in that time, I was training to compete at regionals. And then I hurt myself on a deadlift event, which hurt to do any front rack, anything. And then, so I was working through an injury while trying to recover on a cut, and then training for nationals, and then expanding my business like right after that. And the only time that I had to train was right before work. And so it was me going anywhere, like a light day was 10 hours and a long day was like 16 hours. So it was like 4 days of going 16 hours. And then I'm trying to run errands on my day off. And it was just a combination of everything. And that went on for 7 months. And I was so done with everything at that point, because it was just too much. I was getting sick. My mental health was going down. And this is not all the stuff that like happened all at once. So I didn't notice how bad it was getting until I looked back and I was like, I had an infection. My mental health was going down. I was getting sick 2 or 3 times throughout the month. I literally felt like I was going insane, and I was getting injured, and life felt like it was terrible. So I haven't been in the gym for 6 months, and it makes me feel bad because it's like I dedicated so much of my life to lifting for it to be the one thing that I don't want to do anymore at all. So I don't know when that's going to come back or if it will come back, but still trying to keep active.
Yeah. I think that's been a challenge for me too, is like not being able to be in the gym in my traditional way. What do I do to stay healthy, stay active, keep the habit of like doing something for when I can or do get back in there, and just trying to like take what's important. What do I really need to focus on? What do I really want to like make a priority? You know, in your instance, was it just kind of like focusing more on the business and putting more energy into that?
Yeah. Yeah. Cause it's, that's why I wanted to mention that it was, I'm the sole therapist for now, but, that I am, you know, starting to look for somebody. So it's like I have to really like lock myself down, kind of grow up, you know, and you know, make sure that I can be the best boss that I can be, and maybe even a mentor if they're, you know, like not in the career for as long as I am. So it's just kind of like preparing myself for all that stuff right now.
When it comes to trying to, and I want to talk about kind of how you got into it too, but just since we're on this topic, when you do look for somebody like that, is it kind of a combination of like skill and personality? And then is there also a component of like, you kind of mentioned if they haven't been in the industry as long, but how much of it do you feel like you can teach just from like I don't want to say internship way, but whatever the best word is, from like a training standpoint? Hey, we're going to have X amount of months of training, and then you're really going to be like on your own, taking care of people. Like, what are you kind of looking for in those terms?
That's so hard with massage therapy because it's so individual, so hands-on. And for me, I know personally that it's hard to learn if I don't do it. So it's one of those things that like our interview process is so different from anything you give a massage as your interview. You know, like you'll ask them questions like, are you a felon? You know, stuff like that. But like, it's more so of like getting the feel of the person. If they can like feel, if you can tell that they can feel something, but maybe not quite know what to do, I feel like that's one of the most important things that I'm going to be looking for is that, because that's kind of how I started. Like I worked at a deep tissue clinic in Lexington where I had graduated from massage therapy school, and she gave me a chance. She's like, you're like nowhere near deep enough, but she's like, but I can tell you know what you're doing. You don't quite know what to do. So, you know, it's, if they are new, but I can tell, I'll give them a chance, you know, as long as the energy vibe and all that stuff is great too. 'Cause I'm a pretty chill person. So you don't need to be, you know, bringing any drama or anything up in here. 'Cause that's not what we're about. So
kind of very opposite of what massage therapy would, you know, I feel like be about, because it's not the same, but it kind of reminds me of like an even more personal relationship that you would have like with like a barber or like a hairstylist in a way, because you're like giving them like permission to like do something with your body. And that's almost like a really weird thing in terms of any other, I mean, obviously like a doctor or like a surgeon, maybe, you know, that's a very extreme example if you're getting surgery, but like you're transforming some part of this person's body, and therefore you have to like touch their body, you have to feel, you have to understand like what's going on with it. How much of that do you feel like plays a role in terms of, you mentioned energy, but do you feel like you kind of like understand or like have like a connection with energy and like how like you can feel a person and how you're feeling in that transfer?
Not so much the transfer, but more so in the body. It's like, I'm so glad my clients trust me, because I would have no clients if that was their case. But it's you might not always follow the muscle. Sometimes you have to follow the fascia in that area, or, you know, that tissue sheet, that, like the IT band or the, thoracolumbar fascia, you know, like it's just like a tissue sheet. Sometimes you just got to like figure out what to do with that. So like, I guess the energy in terms of that, cause I'm a very palpable, you know, like kinesthetic learner. So, anything that I can feel, I'm pretty good with, but it's, it's just like, it's like the energy movement I'm intuitive with. So like, I'll even like talk to my client, cause like I get deep tissue too. So I understand, because I'm like hitting my fists and I'm like, oh my God, they better be done in the next like 3 seconds or I'm going to tell them to stop. But, I'll talk to them and be like, okay, all right, it's almost there. Okay. And it's done. And you can tell like they're about to start sweating, getting off the table and stuff like that. So, but yeah, it's definitely, yeah, I can feel the energy.
It seems like such an extreme almost experience in regards to like what most people would think of a therapy or a massage. Like putting those two together, it would seem like this relaxing, rejuvenating, and maybe at the end and afterwards, but certainly in the moment, it seems like it would be intense.
Yeah. I have a lot of clients that will be like, oh, my husband or my coworker, or they're like, oh, you're getting a massage today? That sounds nice. And they're like, it's really not. Like, the end is super great, but during it really sucks. So I liken it to some forms of like physical therapy, you know, like it can be pretty intense. I hate dry needling so much, but the past times that I've had it have been wonderful, and I've gotten so much more activation and range of motion and stuff like that. And that's kind of what I liken it to, is it sucks, but the end result is what you're looking for. So,
right. So before we get too deep into this, because I have like so many questions that I could go off of, but how did you actually get into that field? What inspired you?
I've always had a fascination with the human body. So like when I was growing up, I was like, I'm going to be a doctor, but I couldn't do that. And then it went to like, I can't remember all the different things. They all had to do with the human body, because it was just so fascinating to me. And then when I went to UK for human nutrition, because again, human body, dealing with food, I was like, oh, well, I'm going to get into physical therapy, but that just didn't work out. It was UK has like a really, really competitive program for PT, and it's I mean, like, you have to have like a 4.2, and you have to have all these extracurriculars, and organic chemistry just ruined me. So we're like, okay, well, we're not going to do that. Maybe not now or ever. I don't know. So kind of roamed the earth there for a little bit. And then I I started lifting, and I was like, oh, I'm going to go and get cracked before my first competition there. And I went to Bryan Arena in Lexington. He's a hot topic there in terms of the lifting world, because he did strongman, and him, Rebecca Skilgen, and Sneeringer, they've all done strongman. So like all of them literally know. But at the time it was just Bryan Arena, and I had migraines twice a week, every week for years. And I was like, I guess this is going to be my life. I'm just going to have to crawl into a dark corner, every couple of days or so. And he's like, no, that's not normal. That's common, but not normal. And he adjusted me, but it was particularly the soft tissue release and stuff that he did that I thought I was dead until I woke up that next morning because I slept so hard. And I was like, oh, well, this is delightful. I didn't, because I think of massage as the same thing. I think of somebody rubbing oil on you for an hour. But this was actually palpable. I can feel the difference. I slept better. I trained better. I felt better quality of life. And I was like, well, then I found myself in school because I'm one of those, I'm 0 to 100 when it comes to things. So I was like, well, this is what I'm going to do. And it's kind of what I've been doing since.
Are you tired of struggling with marketing and system management? Well, Big Play Digital is here to change the game for you. Their mission is simple: to provide seamless support in digital marketing and system management so you can focus on what truly matters, delivering exceptional fitness service to your clients. Big Play Digital understands the unique demands of the fitness industry. They've tailored their software and services specifically for your needs. From SEO to email marketing, social media, and content creation, they've got it all covered. Big Play Digital offers comprehensive system management solutions designed specifically for fitness professionals. It's time to take your fitness business to new heights. Where does the willingness come from you? Was it just because you were kind of in that spot of almost needing something, needing an answer to try something that maybe was a little bit uncomfortable, or what was it that just made going through that, I guess you're going to call it that, an acceptable thing in your mind?
It kind of almost felt like serendipitous in a way, because it's I had just started lifting literally 3 months before, signed up for my first competition, was loving it, was looking for something to do, and then I found that the school there was one of the best in the nation. There's a couple in Oregon and California and stuff, but Lexington, Kentucky, has one of the best massage schools. And I was like, okay. And the weird part is that I outside of massage therapy, I don't really like touching people a lot. So, it was kind of one of those things as I just got to trust that this is what I want to do and see where it takes me. And it was just a perfect little fit.
Going in, was there times in the educational process where you found yourself being kind of in awe of how much went into it, how much you had to know, how things were kind of connected, things like that?
Yeah, because school's just basic. It's kind of like PT school. So if, you've got a physical therapist who doesn't learn anything outside of PT school, he's got basic knowledge and that's about it. Same thing with massage therapy is it starts off they're here's a little introduction to this. Here's a little introduction to this. And you learn a lot of Swedish massage, which is kind of just that long flowing spa type massage. And then you start getting into it and you're you start learning about myofascial, and then you start learning about fascial trains, the key, key word for lifting that you'll hear is the posterior chain. That's a fascial chain, and then you're oh wow, so this is all working together. And then you get into different ancient practices like reflexology and the tuina, gua sha, that all this stuff has been around for thousands of years and stuff. So it's there's so much in between there that you can go into. And, yeah, it's like it kept adding on to itself. So it was like, it was very basic. And then they're like, here is a whole world of things you can do after you get out of school. And everybody just kind of went their own ways. And, that's kind of, where I landed on with deep tissue is just, it worked for me. It worked for my clients. And
those different kinds of massage and like, working with the body to adjust things that the layman doesn't understand and know how to adjust. How much of that do you feel like is almost like a lost art of medicine versus, I guess, a therapy and a medicine are kind of one and the same in a way, just looking at it kind of different terms and, definitely different ways we look at those today. But like, how much do you think that was, and maybe was used and could still be used instead of some of the things that we use today? Like, how do you think that would be almost a better alternative in a lot of cases?
I like to think of it as a pyramid because I don't knock Western medicine. I'm a very holistic person. I go for herbal remedies. I go for my vitamins, minerals, my electrolytes. I start at the base of least possible harm. And, or a lot of the herbal stuff is very gentle. Of course, you got some weird ones, but most of it's pretty gentle. And I feel like massage is that way, that it's I feel like it's a gentle start. Now, if massage therapy doesn't work for you, you can go up to that next rung of the pyramid. So going into PT and then going up to surgery, I feel like surgery should be kind of the last route because I have had, unfortunately, quite a few clients that had surgery who found out massage worked better for them than that surgery. And it's like you're inducing an injury in a way, because that's what surgery is you're cutting it open, you're inducing an injury to try and fix something. But there are, unfortunately, a lot of doctors who are very surgery happy instead of trying to find the least harmful situation, the least harmful route first. If you've got a popped bicep, but you're going to have to reattach it. That's just, I'm not going to be able to do anything for that. But I think one of the stories, this wasn't me, this was actually one of my coworkers at the Lexington one, but she had this woman came in. She's like, I've had this lower back pain for forever, and I even got my uterus taken out. And she's like, okay, well, kind of explain to me what this lower back pain is like. And she described it, and she literally just went in and kind of did some fascial releases in through the abdomen. And of course, I know this is controversial, but I shouldn't say controversial, but the studies don't really back up that you can touch the psoas, which is right on the lower back, attaching to the hip. It's one of the hip flexors, but I still do it because people still feel great after it. So she went and released the psoas, and back pain was gone. And that's an extreme case, of course, but if she had just had went up in that pyramid, she might have been able to, reduce the harm that was put on her body, because, you take out all that stuff. Well, you're going to have to replace hormones. You're going to have to, you're going to be on stuff for the rest of your life to just counteract that.
It almost feels like there's almost too much of the very top. The doctors are put on too much of a pedestal on what they should be doing and what we should be going to them for. I mean, there's so many levels below, like you're talking about the pyramid, and you could look at it from like a health perspective as well, in terms of like, maybe you have like a personal trainer, right? Like that would maybe be, an entry-level personal trainer, and then maybe kind of going up the pyramid a little bit, and along those same lines, like a nutritionist, a registered dietitian, and then you might get to a doctor, along the way. But then too many people don't understand that there's that pyramid even existing, and like all these other people are so much better for what they want, but they don't go to them. They go to their doctor and ask, or they go to their doctor and don't even ask, but they say, they get their blood work done, and it's like, oh, you have this, this, and this, and the doctor's like, you kind of expect almost like an answer, and a lot of times that answer is, well, here's this prescription we can fix your blood pressure with, here's this one we can do this with, instead of like utilizing that pyramid more effectively and saying, here's what we can do with this person on this pyramid who knows tons more than I do about exercise, or knows tons more than I do about how the food interacts with the body and can change things, blah blah blah. Actually, right now reading a book, and part of what it was talking about was not just how doctors, and this isn't like slamming doctors like the whole podcast or anything, but just they were saying that in a couple years back, 10, 20, whatever it was, 15 years back, the California State Senate or something, House something, I don't know, I can't remember the exact specifics, introduced a bill to be like, doctors, you need to take X amount of hours within 4 years of time. I think it was like 12 hours of continuing education on nutrition. The California, medical board came out against it. Another California medical association came out against it. And before you know it, the whole bill was thrown out the window. It was, okay, we need 7 hours, and then eventually it was down to 0 hours. And I get, like, that's a little bit of a good thing, because it's putting the nutrition information back in the hands of that registered dietitian. But at the same time, we're not being taught to go to those people. We're being taught, go to the doctor. They're going to be able to fix you up. They're going to be able to tell you what you need to know. But they're not necessarily telling us what we really need to know. They're telling us, kind of like you were talking about, there might be surgery or prescription, get the quick fix kind of hunger. And just the everyday person doesn't know that I should go see a registered dietitian first, or I should maybe go see a fitness trainer or fitness coach to fix some of these issues, maybe after going to see the doctor. It's kind of a weird system that we're in. I could probably talk your ear off for like 3 days about this whole situation, but it's the primary care physician is fantastic, but they know a little about a lot of things, enough to be able to kind of, hand out the prescription and stuff, but like I'm literally just focusing on the muscles, how they move, how to create better range of motion, how to like make you feel better. And, same thing with PTs, OTs, all that stuff. They're like honing in on their stuff. So that's the bad part, is a lot of these people will go to a very general person. It's not that they're not knowledgeable, they know about a lot of things, but they're very general. And, it just, I believe that they work off of a sick care model of just like keeping people sick, because if it wasn't like that, people would be, I don't know, in my opinion, be getting better, but the rate of chronic illness and all that stuff is just insane at this point. So at what level do you think that massage is still fighting a battle of being recognized as like a legitimate resource for people in terms of their, not just like you said, what people think of as massage with the oil and the spa day? How do you still feel like you in terms of the industry and like specifically deep tissue and that kind of thing, still fighting a battle to be recognized legitimately?
Oh yeah. Yeah. 'Cause, like you've got these physical therapists who, and it's just like, it's a couple of them. It's not the majority of them. I have quite a few physical therapists who, linchpin performance, who come in and see me and stuff. But, it's, you do have some of these physical therapists who cherry pick these studies and they're like, see, massage doesn't work. And it's like, if you actually look into these studies, they're done on cadavers, where it's like, that's not going to work, or it's done with Swedish massage because it has to be done in a very methodical, and everybody has to do the same thing in order for it to be a study, which it's like, you can't really do that with human bodies that are...
Because everybody's not the same. Like, they don't have the same problems.
Yeah, so it is a little bit of an uphill battle. I mean, because honestly, I didn't really believe in massage therapy until about 5-6 years ago, you know, when I finally went to somebody who did what worked for me in particular, because like, I know that my massage is not going to work for everybody. Like, that was one of the first things that they taught us in massage therapy school was, you're not everybody's massage therapist. And that kind of sucks because you want to help everybody in the world, but it's like, at the same time, it's kind of freeing. But yeah, I do feel like there has been an uptick though. I think especially in this past year, of people coming in because their doctor recommended it. So I think it's an uphill battle for sure, because you do have a lot of people that want to do spa massages, which is great because it does help with anxiety. It does help with depression, blood flow and all that stuff. But a lot of people don't know I'm an option, or, you know, myofascial is an option, or even what those are. So
it almost doesn't make sense how things are getting worse when we have more information, and when we have better technology, and when we have, you know, all the things that we have. It almost feels like things are getting so niche though, like, especially if you look at like technology and social media.
Yeah, because it's the Instagram is actually how I started figuring out that I have ADHD, is because like this one video came up and I was like, that's really relatable, weird, you know, and you pass on the video or whatever. And then for some reason it clicked on that algorithm. It's just like, there it was. And so every video was like that. And I was like, oh, this is really relatable. I should probably find a therapist and figure out if this is true. So yeah, it's the amount of algorithms I've been like clicked into, you know, is crazy. But it is, you watch one video because you're interested, and then a bunch of things come up. But yeah, you can learn a lot off of that. So
do you feel like in the industry that there's a lot of people that get into it just from like a small business perspective because that's their interest, or do you feel like that there's more potential growth or more potential success that way? Or like, why do you think that people are, you know, getting into the industry and then have like starting their own thing versus maybe working for someone else?
So I would say getting into massage therapy, I would say it's a 50-50 in terms of the reason why people get into it. So for me was, you know, like, I don't have migraines anymore, you know, after being adjusted and getting massage, and I like take care of my soft tissue and all that stuff very regularly. But a lot of people are seeing that our system isn't working, and they're like, well, there has to be something less harmful that can help people. And so there was a OT or a PT, I can't remember what she was, but she worked on specifically scars and healing of wounds, wound care. And she in that kind of that small subsection of PT found that that our system wasn't working for the person. And there was a couple of people who worked at the VA, and they got into cupping, and they saw some great results with that. And the other section of people are like, I want to be able to work for myself. I want to be able to have my own business. I don't want to have to scale, you don't have to if you don't want to, and be able to, work my hours. So it's like a 50-50 in terms of that. And then it's 50-50 in terms of people working their business, their stuff, and working at Massage Envy or Elements, or like in the in Lexington, they were still small, but they had been around for 35 years, the massage center. So a lot of people will work for themselves. The nice thing is you can travel to people's houses. You can have a space of your own like I do, or, like you do have a ton of freedom. So it is really nice. But like one of my best friends, she went and worked at Massage Envy, and that works for her. She loves it.
Just kind of whatever kind of fits your personality better.
Mm-hmm.
When you're working with like an individual, how do you try to like make that person feel the most comfortable as they can, especially like the first time that they maybe come and see you?
I'm a person that has to have things streamlined. So like, I don't reach out to the client much before, but I try and make all of that information, like you can find it on my website. I try and make it as visible as possible on my social media. But generally all the information will come through the intake. So I'll take about 5 to 10 minutes depending on, what all the issue is. Cause I've had people, they're like, I'm broken from my head to my toes. And I'm like, okay, we're going to have to figure out where you're broken, how you're broken, and all that stuff. But they'll tell me all the information. And of course I let them know too, I'm not a conventional massage therapist, like this isn't going to be great, through the process. But, I've got a pretty good track record, of people feeling fantastic afterwards. So, let me know if anything becomes too much. If you can't breathe through it, let me know. And you can talk to me the whole time if you need to, ask questions. And I try and, guide them, especially if it's their first massage. And I do this for anybody who's coming in to me for the first time, just to make sure, because everybody does things differently. But I'll just be like, okay, so when I leave the room, you'll get undressed to your comfort level. For most people, that's just their underwear, So I try and make everything feel as comfortable as possible, be as professional as possible, to hopefully after the massage they'll trust the process, because it's a little alarming the first time, especially if you haven't had a massage before. But again, there's only been like a handful of people who went out and they're like, I hated that. And I'm like, I'm really sorry. So it's 9504 and you can go on your way. So.
Right. Does it, just a general question, do you feel like maybe in the last couple of years, I don't know if it has anything to do with COVID, maybe it's just a coincidence in the timeline, that people are, just not people, but looking at for them as customers, that customers are any different now than when you started initially?
Yes. Actually, I feel like a lot more people are becoming health conscious and trying to read their body better. 'Cause before, specifically before COVID, like people would just be like, my calf hurts. And it's like, okay, any particular movement. I don't know. My calf just hurts. I'm like, okay, all right, we'll figure it out. But now they're like, okay, so, and I know I work with a lot of athletes too. So it is part of that. But even just people who are just, chilling through life, they're like, yeah, it's like specifically when I sit down and I move this part, particular way, that's when that hurts. And it's just, it feels like people are tuning a little bit better into their body just because of how things have been health-wise the past couple of years.
This podcast is sponsored by Smoking Gun Coffee, a veteran-owned coffee company that strives to give back to those in need. Don't forget to use code TWR10 for a 10% discount at checkout. Looking for a supplement company that's as serious about your fitness goals as you are? All Sport Pharmaceuticals is here to help. Their top-of-the-line supplements are designed to help you get the most out of every workout with ingredients that have been scientifically proven to enhance performance and recovery. Whether you're a seasoned athlete or just starting out on your fitness journey, All Sport Pharmaceuticals has the perfect supplements to help you achieve your goals. Plus, with their commitment to quality and safety, you can trust that you're getting a product that's both effective and reliable. So what are you waiting for? Take your fitness game to the next level with All Sport Pharmaceuticals. Visit the website today to learn more. Gotcha. Yeah. So even with that being said, though, do you still feel like that there's more people out there who know that they feel bad for a reason? Or do you think that there's more people who don't know? I don't even know if that makes sense, but don't know that they feel bad, but they just think it's normal. Yeah. No, actually, I would say my athletes know when they feel bad. You're tuned into your body, how things feel, how things move. But a lot of people who don't go to the gym, I would say it's a bit of a toss up, because like I've had people after the massage, they're like, I didn't know that I had a really bad headache. And I'm like, how? I'm like out of commission when I have a bad headache. Like, how do you not know that? But people will also, it's weird because like they don't know until after that massage that I feel like it almost especially sucks for people who don't lift or, go to the gym or anything, because you're not like poking into that pain reception, right, as much when you're not, moving as much. But yeah, I've had some weird comments afterwards being like, I didn't know that I was in so much pain. And it's like, yeah, like that's what happens when you don't move. You don't say that, but you're like, yeah, that's how it is. So it's life. What do you think is like that 10 to 20 year outlook in terms of like how people, like what track that we are on as a society, and like what will happen because of that with people's bodies? Like, do you feel like that we're on this track of almost a point of no return in terms of like general health and like comfort? Do you feel like that we're kind of on a track of like, it doesn't really matter because we have so much maybe potential for technology and medicine that we can just make all those things go away? Like, where do you feel like human beings and their bodies are headed, if that makes sense, if you've thought about it? Yeah, I've thought about that. I'm a very optimistic person, so I don't ever find that there's a point of no return. But I feel like people are becoming a little bit more questioning of things that we've thought about our entire life. So like, one of the things that I've kind of been looking into lately was if there are people who literally slather themselves in sunscreen every day, yet skin cancer hasn't gone down. It's actually risen so much over the past year. And I know there's things that can happen with that, but it's kind of different things like that just make you question a little bit about what we're being told. Like,
like, for example, I'm currently on the carnivore diet because I like to test diets. That's my weird thing. I've been vegetarian, vegan, keto. I've done very specific macros, 90-10 clean, like I like to try it all out. And it has been the best thing that I have ever been on. Now I have to tweak it a little bit now that I'm kind of like healing from a bunch of stuff, but it's small things like that people start to question, because like you get told that saturated fats are bad.
Right.
Try and reduce those as much as possible. I have eaten a lot of saturated fats in the past 4 months, and I'm like, I feel better now than, like eating 10% fats, like, so why is that? And I feel like a lot of people are kind of gearing towards that as they're just kind of questioning things. And I feel that it's going to push in a much more self-sufficient direction rather than like relying on people to tell us this is what we need to do, that people are going to kind of look into it a little bit more.
I've been on that same kind of track. I feel like that same path of questioning things and looking deeper into things. And, for maybe even until just now, maybe something that you said kind of made something click for me. But I always thought, like, if these things are true, like if there's, recently made a post about what's in our meat, right? Like what's the preservatives in our meat? And I'm not even talking about just, the processed meats. I'm talking about what we think is fresh meat, chicken and the ground beef and ground turkey and that kind of thing. Like whenever I used to buy that, I was like, okay, this is what's in here. Like I'm not getting a laundry list of ingredients like I am with a packaged food. But, looking into it deeper, there are things in our meats, and it just made me wonder and think like, okay, well, there's a reason that these are in here, but maybe if we change things up, if we had a different system of farming and ranching and distribution, we could change these things. And, just with all those things you were talking about too, like with, with sunscreen, is it really better for us? And with all kinds of different stuff, it makes you wonder. And then my thought's always like, well, if they know that this stuff is bad for us, then why are they still allowing it to be in our food, to be in our products, to be in X, Y, and Z? Just something you just said there made me realize it doesn't really even matter to a degree that we know it and that we expect them to change for us. Because at the end of the day, it's up to us to change. Until we as a whole decide to make that change and stop buying the products or figure out an alternative way of buying your meat or figuring out an alternative sunscreen or whatever it is, like nothing is going to change. And it's up to us to make that change one person at a time and then force that change.
Yeah, because like I've been searching around for local farmers, because generally local farmers who sell just from their self and not to a middleman or anything, who don't do those factory farming practices and stuff, they're doing regenerative farming, which actually takes a piece of land that is dead and like things can't live there, and because of everything that happens with the cow, like the dung makes it better, and then stuff starts growing there, and then things come back again. Like they do a lot of that regenerative farming, biodynamic farming. Like you can go and look and buy a fourth of a cow which is 100 pounds of meat for, what was the one I was looking at? Around $800. So about, $8 a pound. Now you're not getting all the best cuts, but like in general, you do have to change what you're doing because of comfort.
Right.
Because things, like the reason why things are done anymore the way they are is out of convenience. you know?
Yeah.
And even though it's not the best practice, it's like, well, this is the most convenient to me. I'm going to go on to, you know, the multi-billion-dollar business Amazon and buy it and just do the buy it now. You know, it's going to come straight to me instead of going out to a local business or something to buy from and to keep the money locally. But yeah, that's another thing I could talk for days about. So,
well, I had a podcast actually with a regenerative farmer, rancher, and it was one of my favorite conversations I've ever had. Like, I didn't even know that was a thing. And then all of a sudden we're 3 hours into this conversation and I'm like, why is this not the way we do it? Why is this not everywhere? Why does everybody not know about what this is?
Yeah, that's kind of what I was hoping for massage is to, now there are about 3 to 4 deep tissue massage therapists that I know of, personally working in Louisville and stuff, but you know, like I wanted to be that person that kind of starts changing the idea of pain and pain management. And I mean, it sucks. It's not convenient. You're not going to get into a massage chair, you know, and at your house or anything, but you know, you take a little bit of that convenience out of the way and it's a much better product. It's a much better everything in the sense, you know, because you're, you know, not shipping it from China and all that stuff. So, you know, it's a better result in general. Right.
Yeah. And it's regenerative to everything whenever things work like that.
If you spend your money with me, I specifically, you know, like for Christmas and stuff like that, I will specifically try to find local businesses and artists and, you know, every once in a while, you know, I'm like, that's from Amazon, but that's perfect for this person, you know, like, but like the money will stay locally, you know, or that money will go towards a tip, you know, and me and my boyfriend regularly do like 30, 40, sometimes like 120% tips because, you know, like just every once in a while, it's like, you know, that person, I don't know, we just feel like led to do that. But it's most, and I'm going to like completely screw up these like statistics, but I remember reading something that like something crazy, like 70% of money spent locally stays local. So it's like it stays within that local economy. So, and I can promise you the person that is at Carmichael's, you know, on, what is that, Frankfurt Avenue or something like that, is going to do a better recommendation for a book than Amazon, you know? So it's just going to be better in general.
I want to talk about like the massage and how it relates to, you know, making people better at what they do in terms of like, you know, looking at from the side of bodybuilding and how we can, you know, utilize it to improve our posing or how we can utilize it to improve our gym sessions and not just feeling better, because I think that's like ultimately, I guess, what it does, but how that translates also into the performance and the, you know, the outcome side.
So the hard thing about massage and specifically science is that like there's a lot of studies on trigger points and myofascial stuff and kind of like getting into that soft tissue, but a lot of the studies, and we're trying to change that. I know a couple people actually who are trying to like specifically change the studies geared towards massage therapy that's not just Swedish. But a lot of our stuff is just going to be anecdotal. So it's going to be like this person had this particular outcome from massage therapy. So specifically with bodybuilding, I don't actually say this phrase, but I'm like, do you have a problem with growing or showing? Because like if, because she's actually one of my sponsored athletes, but Autumn, she's very open about her scoliosis, and some of the issues that she has with that. And I was like, okay, well, how does that translate to how you're posing, because for her, that's huge for so many reasons. She's like, well, I can't get into my back pose as much, and especially on this right side. So like, she's also been working with a lot of PT, so it's not just me. But like, we have been able to really, I would say more so boost her confidence in the way that she poses, because she feels more confident that she can get into those poses without having to strain to, because like you could see in some of them, she was like, like really tried to pull on that right side. And
does that limit does it like limit the potential for getting into that pose, or does it make it uncomfortable, or like
both? Because like for her in particular, her diaphragm on her right side, which is pretty common. It's like the psoas and the diaphragm, when you have like a lower curve, can have an issue just because of the way that it's, oriented. But once we started kind of like pulling on that and getting that opened up, she felt so much less strain, so she could better flex what she needed to flex too. Because it's like, if you're focusing on one thing and then you just can't quite get into that position, it does make it a lot harder to pose the way that you need to. So, and the other of growing, I had a client who was specifically trying to grow his quads, and I could just, because the muscle is like an all or nothing contraction, but I do feel like sometimes some of that potential of the contraction, I'm not quite sure how I need to explain that, but it's like, I don't feel like you're contracting it as much as you could if you have things like trigger points or myofascial issues. And I've seen his quads, I swear, literally exploded after that, because that was just like, we got him all, and I felt so bad, because he's like, okay, I need a break, like halfway through the quads, but like after that, it was like 4 or 5 months, his quads just went kaboom. I was like, what are you meat sticks walking in here? So those are my big things for bodybuilders, and specifically, and then a lot of the other strength athletes, of like ollie lifters, crossfitters, power lifters, strongmen, range of motion, huge. I see a lot of issues of shoulder and hip range of motion issues, and being able to like open up the different areas and getting rid of those trigger points. It helps to open up that range of motion. I had a strongman specifically having an issue with getting into a front rack of any position, and he was finally able to just like really set those arms up and be able to do a log press in that position. He was like, I set a PR, and I don't know if it's that like, I want to say it's like, it's all me, but, I don't know if it's just that, or if it's like even maybe like they're like, oh, so because I got work done, like there's an extra bit of like self-confidence, I
did an internship in 2019, maybe, I think it was right before COVID. So yeah, 2019 at Trinity with their sports strength conditioning program. And it was amazing to me what we saw in regards to, and I was only there for 1 full year, so I don't know what the past maybe looked like in terms of a year before, 5 years before, 20 years before, but like the lack of range of motion and like the lack of almost comfortability to what would that be, 14 or 15-year-old, 13, 14, 15 person coming right into high school, maybe being there for a year or whatever, like the lack of body awareness I feel like has decreased maybe. And I don't know. I just feel like my personal experience as a kid, I was just like all over the place, like rolling around, flipping around. Like some of these kids could barely do like a somersault, and it looked like the most awkward thing you'd ever seen. And then, getting into the weight room, obviously a front rack position isn't like something that you're going to do on a daily basis, but like the amount of people, the amount of kids that couldn't get into that position was shocking. It just, I don't know if it is a result of like just people being less active and less going outside and playing around, but it was pretty crazy to see that.
Yeah, I was outside all the time. And then, there was kids running around our neighborhood all the time when I was younger. And now you go out and it's a desert.
Right.
There's no kids outside at all.
It's crazy, yeah.
I'm a person who shares too much information, but I would literally pee myself outside because I didn't want to come back inside because I was convinced my mom would not let me back outside. So that hasn't happened for a while. So, but
it's kind of the opposite now, right? I mean, you have to force them to go out. It's like, get off of your iPad to go outside.
Yeah, like when they're really young, they want to go outside. But yeah, once you start getting that screen time in, which is another thing I could spend 3 years on, but once you start getting that screen time in, they're hooked. That's it.
Yeah. And so going back to bodybuilders for a minute, do you have a lot of bodybuilders coming to you during prep, wanting you to work on them from like an aesthetic point of view, like, hey, can you make this look better? Like what I have right now, I'm so lean. Can you work on this in any way to increase the aesthetic value?
Honestly, I would say that that's actually a small percentage of people who are coming in for like a specific body part. A good percentage of people are coming in because their coach is like, hey, we could really get this, looking great and feeling great and stuff. So go into a massage therapist. And then another portion of them is just to make themselves better. They see that a lot of the pros are doing it. And it's like, if you want to be big, you emulate the pros, because they've got it down. And so they're coming in to feel better because they have range of motion issues and all that stuff too. So I'd honestly say most of it's that.
I definitely think bodybuilding has a just like in general stereotype of a complete lack of range of motion and a complete like, I don't know if this is the right word, but almost like a lack of athleticism just because of that stereotypical bodybuilder. Do you feel like that in any way, just from being around that community at all, do you feel like that is changing to where bodybuilders are more seeing themselves more as like actually athletes and actually like being not like I don't want to say well-rounded, but like they want to make sure that they're kind of checking all the boxes and not just like, oh, how can I go get jacked? Yeah,
I'd say so. Because it's like, there's this show called The Physical 100. It's a Korean show, but it's literally 100 people doing these different things. And you've got like bobsledders, you've got snowboarders, CrossFitters, you've got some weird off people too. But a big portion of them were these bodybuilders. And it was like, yeah, they're huge, they're jacked, like they've got a couple of physiques in there. And so they're big people. And they were doing some crazy physical things. And I think it's literally just them testing what they can do. They're like, well, damn, I got this big. Well, I might as well see what I can do now, with all this musculature. And I swear if some of these bodybuilders just like took about 2-3 blocks of powerlifting with all that muscle mass, like they'd kill.
It's a weird world because bodybuilding is being influenced more by the masses and less by like the true like hardcore bodybuilders maybe.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's I think that's all sports though. It's being heavily influenced by Instagram because it's like it's like the power lifters specifically recently, I've just kind of been watching some of them because like I love the new generation of lifters because they're insane. I'd love to watch them and everything, but I've started to notice that they're all kind of doing the same thing. One thing in particular is they take their chain and they put it in their mouth when they're lifting. I mean, if that helps you, sure, but like, I'm pretty sure you saw that from your favorite lifter on TikTok, but it's, I feel like we start to go towards whatever is popular, I guess, in a sense, unless of course, you've got like a good coach, which a lot of people in bodybuilding they eventually get to a good coach, but
right. Yeah, that's a big thing for sure. I do feel like though there's like more people are living off of trends instead of like the real information, kind of going back to what we said before, like there's so much information, but you get kind of niched in and you get kind of like, oh, what's popular? Like what has 50,000 likes? Is it the guy talking about like in-depth stuff on bodybuilding, or is it the one that's, doing some kind of crazy dance in the gym or, whatever it is? But like you said too, people eventually get there. I think everybody goes through their process of kind of feeling that early age of being into something and making mistakes a little bit, but not knowing it at the time, and then realizing, oh, that was a terrible way to do it. And then you kind of get more serious about it. But I think overall, just from looking around a little bit, I think we are on average getting a little bit smarter in all those areas. Yeah,
because it's widely available. Like there is a lot of bad information, but it's like if you take that bad information for long enough and you don't see a result, then you're going to be like, maybe I should look for good information. And that's kind of, I think that's where you take the information and see where it leads you, So
to wrap things up, I want to put you on the spot here. I want you to share with us one piece of advice, one thing for the, I don't want to say average Joe, but maybe just the average fitness person, the average, maybe bodybuilder who's not an Olympian level. Like, give us one piece of advice. Give us one thing to think about, to take away, and to maybe utilize within our life.
I'd say to listen to your body. Because if you think something is wrong, more than likely something is wrong. And I have a lot more people come in with injuries or could have been avoided injuries if they had just listened to their bodies and not like worked through pain. There is obviously discomfort that you can work through. Like there was a ton of discomfort coming back from popping my collarbone, but like actual pain, you do not need to work through. And in fact, that's going to hinder your progress more than it's going to help it if you keep going through it.
That's well said. And I think too, it's a little bit of a tricky area for people to know the difference between discomfort and pain. And I think you mentioned it earlier, but a lot of people, they're on the two ends of the spectrum, right? It's like, oh, everything's an emergency or nothing is an emergency. And we have very little thoughtfulness on like, what does this mean? What could the potential reasons be behind it? What happens if I do keep living with this pain? Like, is it going to continue to get worse, stay the same? Is it going to get better? I just think, like you said, being thoughtful and listening to what's going on within your own body is a huge one. And being aware of just like, okay, this is what has been going on with it, keeping a little bit of a track on it, and not just waking up one day and realizing, oh, I've had a headache for the last 3 years.
Mm-hmm. And if you don't know, ask somebody. Ask your massage therapist, your PT, ask somebody. They'll help you.
Yeah, so. For sure. Well, I really appreciate you coming in. It was great getting to chat with you and kind of a diverse range of topics today, which I always find the most entertaining and the most fun conversation. So I really appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you.
Absolutely. And before we do head out, if you want to share your business, social media, anywhere people can get a hold with you, you can go ahead and do that.
So Alchemy Massage Therapy. I'm located in Melwood Arts Center. It's a little confusing. It's a little confusing to get to my office, but I always send directions on how to get there. My Facebook and Instagram, same thing. Instagram / Alchemy Massage Therapy. Like, it's the same logo everywhere. So if you see that logo, that's you'll find me.
If you're tired of searching for a coach or trainer, somebody who knows what they're talking about and has experience, make sure you go check out the new Coach's Corner on weightroompodcast.com. You can find quality, qualified coaches to help you achieve your goals, whether that's in bodybuilding or just general fitness. Stop wasting time and start achieving your goals today. The link to the Coach's Corner is down in the description below.